Hey, all my Gemini friends. Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Teri Hunter. I'm an intuitive astrologer, and I'm here today with your 2025 yearly horoscope. What I'm going to do is go through each month, January through December, and I'm going to talk about what I think are some of the more influential transits that are going to happen for you and tell you what house it's going to be and where the emphasis will be for this year. And it looks like some of it, quite a bit of it's going to be in your 10th house of career. That's Pisces. But before I start, I just want to mention this is going to be based on whole sign Western astrology. So when I'm talking about Gemini, I'm referring to Gemini Rising. This, if you don't know your rising sign, you'll want to go to any one of the free birth calculators on the internet. You just need your exact time of birth and location to determine that information. All right, let's jump in. So in January, we're going to see the nodes shift from the Libra Aries axis to the Virgo Pisces axis. The North Node will move into your 10th house of public status and career, and the South Node will move into your 4th house of home and hearth and family. The North Node is a point where we are ravenous, something we want to experience, something we are stretching for, but we haven't mastered it. We haven't had enough time to master it because we've defaulted to our South Node oftentimes. So the South Node in Virgo would be really about letting go of criticism, letting go of perfectionism, sort of also potentially letting go of, and I hate the word letting go, to be honest with you. I prefer let it grow. But in this particular case, the South Node will bring something into your life where you'll have to assess whether or not it is still a priority, if it's still as valuable as it once was. And in doing so, it could potentially remove something, and yet that could open space for something much more aligned to who you have grown into. So I think that's important. This is going to go on for a year. So you're going to experience this North Node in your 10th house, which I think is a real opportunity to take advantage of your creativity. Pisces by nature is very musical, very lyrical, very poetic, very imaginative. It's also where we escape. It's also where we can find addictions and issues with drugs, alcohol, shopping, sex, anything where we escape into another world. So that is something that could come up, or it could be part of the Pisces Virgo axis is an axis that's known as the axis of suffering. Pisces is the house of, again, the unconscious, the self undoing. And then the Virgo axis is the perfectionist, the checking everything with such a fine-tooth comb that there can be a sense of no satisfaction. So this is going to come up for you. And I think it's going to come up for you a little bit stronger, maybe for others, because you're mercurial ruled. So having the South Node in Virgo, who's also ruled by Mercury, will have some sort of synergy for you. And seeing that Virgo is your 4th house of home, that makes sense because it is the home that actually nurtured the self as it grew. We will also see Uranus move direct in your 12th house of Taurus. Uranus has been moving through that house since about 2017 and really sort of bringing in lightning strikes of things that, or things into your awareness that would upend things, would turn them upside down in many ways. And these feel like they could be psychological awarenesses or psychological epiphanies of some kind. We will see Venus, Saturn, and Neptune join the North Node. Now, Neptune's been traveling and Saturn's been in your 10th house for about a year now. Neptune's been there much longer, the ruler of the house. But this is significant because we are growing into a conjunction that will come together around the end of March, April, when Venus, Mercury, the Sun, and the moon will all join this stellium. So we're seeing these planets sort of stacking up in your 10th house. So as you plan for, where you want to be in your career, how you want to move your story forward, how you want to stand in leadership with your intuitive body, your creative body, that's the Pisces energy. So now we move into February, where Jupiter goes direct in your first house. Jupiter went retrograde back in 2023. And while Jupiter is in detriment in your first house, I really believe that Jupiter is expansive wherever Jupiter goes. It's a world universal traveler, curious and interested in all sorts of different cultures and different philosophies. So here, the challenge is these big, broad ideas that Jupiter will get. Now there's the implementation of them coming off of the mountain and down into the valley of everyday life, where there's kids to raise, food to put on the table, bills to be paid, and all these other things that get in the way. So I think while Jupiter was retrograding, it was giving you an opportunity to revisit your belief system about what you want for the future, about how you want to expand. Jupiter's also very much a writing, publishing, branding, marketing planet. It brings expansion in those areas. So you may have been contemplating your own, content on an internet platform. I'm not sure, but whatever it is, there's an opportunity now to start to implement that, because in no short order, Jupiter will move into your second house of Cancer, and that's a money house for you. But I don't want to get ahead of myself. Speaking of Cancer, Mars is going to move direct in February in Cancer. Now, Mars is in fall in Cancer. It does not really operate at its best there. It doesn't always feel like its natural vibration is appreciated, because Mars wants to get to it. Mars doesn't want to do all the extra emotional work to massage something. It just wants to get to the outcome. So Mars is really having to address the emotional nature of the family, of humans, of how the family imprints us when we're very young and we're not even aware of it. Now in February, we start to feel that stellium. Here comes the sun, here comes Mercury, Saturn, Neptune, the North Node, and the moon. All will be in Pisces at the end of February. This is very, very significant. And those born during that time will be extremely creative and magical little beings. I really think they'll be playing to the creative dynamic and the spiritual dynamic versus the escapism. But this is a real opportunity to shine during this time, to literally tee up that first month for, if you are an entrepreneur, to create more content or to create something to engage your audience or your clients. If you're an employee, this is a great time to let your talents shine, to talk to your boss about some changes, broadening, expanding yourself in some way. So that's really going to be good for you. In March, we will see our first eclipse season of 2025 and the last eclipse in the Aries energy. We will see a full moon lunar eclipse in Virgo, and we will see a new moon partial solar eclipse in Aries. Eclipses always have a 6-month influence. So whatever happens during that time will somehow reveal itself over the following 6 months. Unless, of course, that full moon could potentially bring something to a conclusion. And I want to offer it this way because I don't really believe in endings and beginnings. So when I say the word conclusion, I mean I've come to a conclusion. Something has been illuminated, a piece of information has been revealed that now allows me to make a choice and move in a new direction. We will also see Neptune enter Aries for the first time since 1862, which was in the middle of the Civil War in the United States. So that will be very interesting. Neptune will retrograde back into Pisces and then move finally forward and settle into Aries for the next 15 years or such. Venus and Mercury will both retrograde in Pisces. Venus is exalted in Pisces, and I didn't mention that earlier. But even in retrograde, Venus does well in Pisces. So this is an opportunity to really review and reflect on my creative processes and what I'm building and what I'm working on, and to make sure that it's authentic to me and my heart, because there's a very good potential for success here. There's a very high potential for Gemini to be seen by the public eye, to take this to the next level. But part of it is you getting brave about it, and, rather than vacillating back and forth, allowing Venus, your heart, your receptive feminine energy, to then instruct Mercury how to dispense the information of your heart. In April, Mercury and Venus will go direct. So we've got this whole, basically Venus is in Pisces for 4 months in exaltation. That's amazing, in your 10th house. She will be, Mercury and Venus in no short order will be joining Saturn and Neptune, and then obviously moving on. Saturn and Neptune are growing closer and tighter together, and pretty soon they're going to be traveling together and having what I like to call a summit in Pisces and Aries, 10th and 11th house for you. So as you get brave and Neptune moves into your 11th house, you could really broaden your network. You could start to experience your hopes and your dreams being revealed to you. While Aries is your 11th house, Saturn is naturally the co-ruler of the 11th house. And, well, maybe some astrologers would argue, I think because Mars is exalted in the sign of Capricorn, that when Saturn, the host, the ruler of Capricorn, comes visiting Aries, where Mars is the ruler, they roll out some carpets for Saturn as well. So this is where leadership is going to come in. It's really going to be an interesting energy. Okay, so Mercury and Venus have gone direct. They're meeting up with Saturn, the North Node, and Neptune. Mars has re-entered Leo. Mars has gone direct in Cancer in February, and it's finally gotten into a fire sign. So much happier in a fire sign, so much happier in the sign of Leo. So that will feel good. And I think that's going to bring a real burst of energy. Your Leo is your 3rd house of communications centered around pleasure and joy and fun and self-expression. And I think that could also be with Mars entering Leo and your brave energy with the Pisces energy, the stellium that's happening in your 10th house. Something could really be birthed for you in a big way, Gemini. Okay, May. Saturn enters Aries. Now, Saturn and Neptune are within milliseconds, minutes apart, and they're both experiencing this energy for the first time in many years. Saturn hasn't been there for 24 years plus. Saturn takes 2 years to go through each sign. And we said earlier, Neptune has not been in Aries since 1862. So there's a lot to talk about in the Aries energy. And for you, that's about my hopes and my dreams and how brave will I be. How brave will I be to be willing to be tenacious in my commitment to myself, to my dreams, to making them come true. I think more and more we're going to be experiencing technology as a vessel for income, for resources to help pay our bills. So, anything that you do over the internet, you could be investing in Bitcoin or electric money, Venus money. So it doesn't have to be content creation necessarily. This is really, really interesting. Okay, so then Pluto will retrograde in Aquarius in May from until October 2025, going from 3 degrees Aquarius till 1 degree Aquarius. And Aquarius is your 9th house. So you have this 9th house, this broadening Jupiterian energy here in the 9th house, and yet it's the house that's focused on friendships and the network, the World Wide Web, and innovation and moving the story forward. So I really think that this could be an exciting time when Pluto retrogrades for you to rethink how you want your world to be, the 2.0 version of you. Wherever Pluto is in any one of our charts is going to bring newness. It's going to bring a sense of power. But before that power shows up, we could feel a sense of frustration by being disempowered by something else, which then inspires us into action. Okay, now we go into June. Saturn and Neptune are just traveling in Aries. They're not moving very fast. They're actually slowing down because both are about to go retrograde. So we're getting this sort of like, it's almost as if somebody walked into the entryway of a house and then they stopped. And they really don't know what the house is, but they're trying to get a sense of it. So again, this is the 11th house for you. So you're going to be, getting a sense of this broadness, this 2.0 version, and potentially, the research that you've done. Let's say you do decide to invest in something via technology. This is where you could start to feel like I almost want to feel a slowing down to make sure that I've crossed all my T's, dotted my I's, done all. Saturn at conjunct Neptune in Aries in your 11th house makes me feel like I just need to be a little bit careful that I'm not deceiving myself or missing something or things. I have to make sure things are clear. Saturn will square Jupiter in Gemini for the third time in June. The first two times happened in 2024. And this is really, expansion versus contraction. This time, both the planets are moving forward. In the retrogrades previously, one of the planets was either, in the previous squares, both the planets played their role in retrograde. So now as they're both moving forward, we're seeing sort of this opportunity to look at where I want to expand, look at where I want to, basically, this is what I want to say. Jupiter's so expansive, and in Gemini, it's in detriment. It's going to miss some details. Saturn's slowing the roll. Look for the details. Make sure you cross your T's, dotted your I's, so that we can move forward succinctly versus having to keep coming back and forth because we've missed something. And by the end of the month, Jupiter will move into Cancer. The last time that happened was 2013 through 2014. So I don't know what was going on for you there, but again, Cancer is your second house of Cancer is the house for home and family, but the second house is your personal skills used to make money through your own endeavors and your voice. So I think this is going to be a fortuitous time for you, an abundant time, but it's going to require bravery. July will see 3 retrogrades. Mercury will retrograde from July 18th until August 11th, from 15 to 4 degrees of Leo. Saturn will retrograde back into Pisces from July 13th until November 28th, from 1 degree Aries to 25 degrees of Pisces, and Neptune will retrograde on July 4th until December 10th, from 2 degrees Aries to 29 degrees of Pisces. So we see so much of this year already. Saturn and Neptune are in a very strong and powerful conversation, because those conversations are making aspects to Uranus and Pluto. So that's very interesting. I say that a lot. Okay, and finally, we will see Uranus enter your first house. Mercury, by the way, Leo is your third house. I think I've said that already, and Pisces is your 10th house. Uranus is going to move into your first house, out of your 12th house, and it's going to be there until 2032, 2033. And I got to say, I've had this transit and it was very liberating. It was actually very exciting. I started working for myself. I didn't plan it. It came very unexpectedly, all because I got pissed off, but I had been preparing for it. So that's what this is all about. Let's go on to August. Saturn and Neptune will be retrograde all month long conjunct, so that conversation continues. Venus has moved into Cancer, and she is having an exact conjunction with Jupiter. Jupiter is in exaltation. Venus is very happy in Cancer. It's a good sign for her. So this is very much expansive. It feels very loving, very a lot of friends, parties. It's August. So that's the height of summer in the West. I expect a lot of good energy during that time. Mars will enter its detriment in Libra, where Mars gets to once again think about how other people respond to how he acts and how he expresses himself. And Venus, as she enters Leo at the end of August, will make an opposition to Pluto and Aquarius. This might be a little bit challenging. I feel like for some reason this is like some sort of challenge against my personal freedoms of entertainment and fun. Not any sort of lockdown or anything like that, but there could be just a bit of what feels a little disruptive. It could have something to do with money. Venus rules money, Pluto rules money. So there may be a little something going on there. But in any case, that's going to be a pretty significant transit. September, we'll see our second eclipse season. We will first have a full moon lunar eclipse in Pisces. That will be the first one on that, the Pisces axis, and then a new moon solar eclipse in Virgo. Again, Pisces is your 10th house, so you have this opportunity to have some sort of illumination there in your career and start something new. And that could very well be working from home. You never know, or working from somewhere that feels like home. Saturn will re-enter Pisces in September in its retrograde, and Uranus will retrograde from 1 degree Gemini, your first house, back into your 12th house for a final examination of what needs to be renovated and brought into the 21st century. Or maybe we're in the 21st century. I thought it was the 22nd for a minute. I'm getting ahead of myself. Okay, October, Jupiter will be in Cancer, making a trine to Saturn retrograde in Pisces. Now we went from these two planets squaring each other, where they were having challenging conversations, to cooperative conversations. And Saturn, while it's retrograding in Pisces, is just reviewing and assessing how strong the foundation is with its spiritual beliefs. Jupiter rules religion, it rules intuition, the connection to the angelic realm, the conversation. And so I really think that this is about feeling the divinity within, potentially actually experiencing something more tangible that makes you feel like your soul is actually real and not just a word somebody made up. Neptune will retrograde back into Pisces right after Saturn does that. So that's going to be, again, that continued conversation. And in October, we will see Pluto go direct in Aquarius at 1 degree. Aquarius again is your 9th house. And there's the 9th house rules travel. So you could find something to do. You may end up traveling. I don't know why I want to say that for you, but it just came through intuitively. So I'm going to put it out there. You might find yourself traveling in October to a foreign land. In November, we will see the final Mercury retrograde of the year at 6 degrees of Sagittarius, all the way back to 20 degrees of Scorpio. That will happen from November 9th until the 29th. So the whole month will be, this is one of those things when you know that there's a Mercury retrograde, you can book your ticket home for Thanksgiving, or if you're traveling early, so you don't have to worry about that. We will also see Jupiter retrograde from 25 degrees of Cancer back to 15 degrees of Cancer. This will happen November 11th, 2025, and go all the way till March 11th, 2026. Saturn will move direct on the 28th of November at 25 degrees of Pisces, and won't be back in Pisces, for another 24 years. So these last few degrees are really powerful for Saturn to get everything, to master that Piscean energy. Again, your 10th house. So this is really about putting yourself and being willing to stand in leadership for your career, for your creativity, and for your confidence. Now in December, we see Jupiter and Saturn both direct. Oh, I'm sorry. Jupiter's retrograde. Jupiter's retrograde and Saturn is direct. And this is the second time they will meet in trine. Neptune goes direct on December 10th at 29 degrees of Pisces. So while Jupiter and Saturn are in a trine, we still feel Neptune's energy floating around in the background. And I think that this is important because as Neptune is traveling through your 10th house, I would say up until now, it may have felt a little bit erosive for you. It may have felt a little bit as if it was hard and challenged. Those first year of Saturn's transit in Pisces is a little bit tough because we as humans are adjusting to Saturn wanting us to do something that feels counterintuitive. Saturn's all earth, all building, agriculture, buildings, erecting buildings, architecture. And here Saturn's asking us to build something with the untangible, with what that which cannot be seen. So, and with the nodes, the North Node going into your 10th house, I think you'll be very determined to shift something within your physical experience. And in doing so, I think you've got a lot of power behind you. Again, the planetary activity in Pisces is pretty significant, especially in the beginning of the year. So take advantage of that, Gemini. All right, that's it for me. Please come back. I do monthlies, so we'll get into more detail of the aspects each month. I do a live on Sunday mornings from 11 a.m. Pacific to about 1 p.m. We do readings every week. And there's lots of other content coming out. So please check for that. Please like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. And I'll see you in 2025. Because as you can see, it's still Christmas time, 2024, when I'm recording this. Bye, Gemini. See you soon.